They've never said, like never, ever, at Van City Reynolds is the next Martha Stewart. Here's the real secret behind this tweet. This is full spoiler alert. I made these cookies, and they were so bad, and I really pride myself. See, I talk about what a good baker I am and what a good cook I am, but it's great in interviews because nobody's actually trying your food, so they can't really fact check it. So everybody's like, oh, Blake, you're such a great chef. Tell me about that. And they have no idea what I can just, they don't know. So I made these cookies for my daughters, and I really failed. And they were so ugly. Ryan wasn't even in town, and then I just posted this and made it seem like he made terrible, ugly cookies. That's what he gets for leaving town.
But I don't think it's cute for I think those are the noisy. I know, they're harder to get off. Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. Don't let me forget these. They're not mine. None of these are mine. Thank you, Lorraine Schwartz. Or I can act like I forgot them and then pocket them. Anyway. I'm also a criminal.
Lies, lies, lies. And everywhere is lies.
Blake Lively has been having a tough time on social media. She was recently exposed as a tone-deaf mean girl who, based on documentation included in Justin Baldoni's lawsuit, may have weaponized the MeToo movement and conspired with journalists from the New York Times to ruin Baldoni's reputation and career to boost her own. I didn't want to be like so many others when Lively dropped her complaint and the New York Times published a very biased, in my opinion, smear campaign. I waited to comment on this because I wanted to see what came out and not rush to judgment. And I'm glad I did, because over the last month, I've seen a lot of YouTubers and social commentators backtracking because they immediately dogpiled on Baldoni as soon as the New York Times piece and Lively's complaint dropped. So much for innocent until proven guilty. Now that Baldoni has decided to fight the numerous allegations made against him in Lively's complaint and lawsuit, he and his attorney Brian Friedman have produced receipt after receipt after receipt. In addition to that, old clips of Lively exhibiting terrible behavior and outright admitting to some of the claims made in Baldoni's $400 million lawsuit against her and her husband have resurfaced.
Or when I would show up on a set, I knew that they just wanted me to show up and look cute and stand on a little pink sticker where I'm supposed to go and say what I'm supposed to say. But I also knew that that wasn't fulfilling for me, that I wanted to be a part of the storytelling, that I wanted to be a part of the narrative, whether that be in the writing, in the costume design, in creating the character. And sometimes I had directors or producers or writers who would welcome that and invite that once they saw that I was able to offer that. And sometimes I would have people who really resented that because they were like, we just hired you to be an actor. Yet when I went in the meetings, I would just seem like I'm just there to be the actor and ready to get the gig. I wouldn't reveal that I actually need to have authorship in order to feel fulfilled. So I think that for them, sometimes that might have felt like a rug pull because you're trying to assert yourself into something that we didn't hire you to do. And so it was a really strange position to be in because I felt like I don't want to just be an actor. I want to have more authorship. So I think that it's about knowing what I want and what I need and representing that from the outset. And if people are into that and want to collaborate with me for all I feel like I need to offer and bring to a job, then those are the people I should collaborate with. And if I see that it's people who are, whether this is in business or acting or whatever it is, where it's people who I can see that feels like that's stepping on their territory, that's not going to ultimately be a fulfilling relationship for either one of us. So I think it's about being upfront about knowing what you actually need versus just trying to get the job. And then, once you're in it, sort of revealing the scope of your sort of needs to be, fulfilled.
You see, Lively so loves being the center of attention that when someone puts a camera and microphone in front of her, she just can't shut up. She has to spill her guts.
We help each other. We work together so much. The iconic rooftop scene in this movie, my husband actually wrote it. Nobody knows that, but but he wrote it. He works on everything I do. I work on everything he does. So his wins, his celebrations are mine, and mine are his. I mean, he's all over this film.
And now it doesn't look too good for Lively and her more successful husband, Ryan Reynolds. I'll be fully transparent here. I was already not a fan of Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds as actors or people, and I'll elaborate on why I don't care for either of them later. Apart from The Town, I had never enjoyed even one of Lively's movies, and I felt she was the weakest cast member in that film. When it comes to Reynolds, I love The Proposal and Deadpool and Wolverine, both of which I own. I also like Deadpool, Just Friends, and I thought Ryan Reynolds was good in the 2005 remake of the Amityville Horror. It's not a bad movie, but the rest of his movies, Selfless, Waiting, Safe House, Green Lantern, Deadpool 2, If, Red Notice, 6 Underground, R.I.P.D., The Hitman's Bodyguard, I hate them all.
Trash!
About a year ago, one of my coworkers said to me, "Name 3 actors you won't pay to see in a movie." I said, The Rock, Gerard Butler, and Ryan Reynolds. My coworker was shocked and asked me why I didn't like Reynolds as an actor. I said he had limited range, like The Rock, and that he played every role the same way. My coworker said, "I think his wife is so pretty." I said, "She is, but much like her husband, she's been in some terrible movies." So then I asked her to name a good movie Lively had been in where she was the lead. My coworker had a really long pause because she clearly couldn't think of one. And then she finally said, "The Shark movie." Like many people, I'm eager to see how all these allegations and lawsuits play out in court. But I'll be honest and say, based on reading the New York Times piece, "We Can Bury Anyone Inside a Hollywood Smear Machine," Lively's complaint, her lawsuit, Baldoni's original lawsuit, his amended lawsuit, watched several Lively and Baldoni interviews, behind-the-scenes footage, and read Lively's amended lawsuit.
So talk to me about how sometimes you were even the intimacy coordinator in some of those sexier scenes. Like we saw you.
That shouldn't be happening, by the way. I just want to be clear that you should not be the intimacy coordinator. You should definitely hire intimacy coordinators, which we did have. Thank
You
goodness.
were teaching Justin how to pull you in.
Where have you
loved
seen
that.
this?
That
I
clip?
actually just saw it too. It was on
Really?
Instagram yesterday, I think.
Yeah.
At this time, I can't support Lively's claims. She still hasn't provided receipts.
Receipts, proof, timeline, screenshots, in everything.
Right now, I feel as if Lively's allegations are another case of the MeToo movement being weaponized. I believe in supporting people, whether they be male or female, when they come forward and disclose that they've experienced SH or SA. After all, I experienced SA at 15 and SH throughout adulthood. However, I think it's wrong for a man or anyone else to lose their career and the ability to financially support themselves or their families and have their reputation ruined before they've even been found guilty of the actions they've been accused. The Me Too movement was necessary in not only Hollywood, but every industry. The problem is what the industry evolved into, and that not everyone could benefit from it. The Me Too movement was initially founded by activist Tarana Burke in 2006, but the movement swept through Hollywood and mainstream media following exposés detailing Harvey Weinstein's deviant behavior, titled "Harvey Weinstein Paid Off SH Accusers for Decades," published in the New York Times on October 5, 2017, and another titled "From Aggressive Overtures to SA, Harvey Weinstein's Accusers Tell Their Stories," published in The New Yorker on October 10, 2017. Alyssa Milano used the hashtag in a tweet encouraging other women to speak out about their experiences with SA, and the response was so overwhelming, the hashtag went viral. And then, Hollywood was in shambles. Countless actresses were coming forward with allegations and the men in Hollywood were terrified. It seemed like almost daily a different actor, producer, journalist, or talk show host was being accused of SH or SA, and then subsequently fired from movies and TV shows, dropped from their agencies, and publicly ostracized. Famous rich men were being endlessly exposed for being deviants who exploited their money and positions. Throughout her career, Lively has been associated with problematic men in Hollywood, with one of those men now being convicted of SA and the other being alleged to have done terrible things to a little girl. That man is Woody Allen. Here's a little reminder of why Woody Allen is considered a creep, despite not being convicted of anything related to SA. Allen started dating actress Mia Farrow in 1980, 2 years after Farrow adopted her daughter, Soon-Yi, from South Korea, who in 1980 was about 10 years old. In early 1992, Farrow found, shall we say, inappropriate images of Soon-Yi, leading Allen to confess he was in a relationship with the then 21-year-old. That's right, Allen started dating the daughter of his girlfriend of 12 years, the daughter he had known since she was a child. Later that year, Farrow accused Allen of misconduct with her other daughter, Dylan Farrow. There was an investigation and a much publicized custody battle, but Allen was never found to be guilty of anything S-related, at least not in the court of law. While Allen was mocked by comedians for his relationship with Soon-Yi, who became his third wife in 1997, his career never suffered. There was no shortage of actors and actresses willing to work with him, despite him leaving his girlfriend for her daughter, whom he had known since she was a child, or the SM with a child allegation. Over the years, Dylan Farrow has maintained that her mother's allegations against Allen were true, and she has gone on to speak and write about her experience and become an advocate for survivors of SA. She has gone on to receive support as a survivor in recent years, but you know who didn't support Mia Farrow and Dylan Farrow's claims? Blake Lively. In 2015, Lively was cast as Veronica Hayes in Woody Allen's Cafe Society. With Allen being the critically acclaimed writer and director he is, I'm sure Lively felt this was going to be the movie to finally catapult her onto the A-list. After all, Allen was fresh off the critical and financial successes of Midnight in Paris and Blue Jasmine. But nope, Cafe Society was yet another dud under Lively's belt, with the movie failing to secure her or her co-stars any nominations from major or minor film associations. The movie didn't even earn back double the film's meager budget of $30 million at the box office. During the film's press junket and subsequent interviews, Lively was questioned about working with the controversial Allen. In an article published in Teen Vogue titled, "Blake Lively Defends Woody Allen Amidst R-Word Allegations," Ella Cerrone wrote, quote, "Blake was also asked by Vulture what she thought about Ronan's piece," end quote. Cerrone was referring to Ronan Farrow's article, "My Father, Woody Allen, and the Danger of Questions Unasked," which was published by The Hollywood Reporter on May 11, 2016, the same day Cafe Society premiered at the Cannes Film Festival. Lively said, quote, "I don't want to speak on something that I haven't read. I think that's dangerous. It's definitely something that, being at the festival, the media these days, you come to a film festival about film and people talk about all different types of things, you know? That can definitely be tricky to navigate, I'm sure," end quote. Cerrone wrote that when it came to choosing to sign on to the movie, Lively didn't think about the prior allegations. In an interview with the Los Angeles Times, Lively said, quote, "It's amazing what Woody has written for women. It's very dangerous to factor in things you don't know anything about. I could only know my experience, and my experience with Woody is he's empowering to women," end quote. Now this was in 2016, before the Me Too movement took over Hollywood in 2017, And what we see here is Lively refusing to say anything that would offend the alleged child predator, Woody Allen. Granted, Lively may not have read Ronan Farrow's article, but she knew what Allen was accused of before she started working with him. It was no secret. It's like how Lady Gaga collaborated with R. Kelly on the song Do What You Want, which was a hit, but then when the documentary Surviving R. Kelly dropped, she disavowed him, and suddenly she was standing with his victims. Well, in 1994, R. Kelly married the then 15-year-old Aaliyah when he was 27 years old, and he's repeatedly been in the news for incidents with young girls ever since. So why'd it take the selective outrage from a 2019 documentary for Lady Gaga and others to stand with his accusers? By October 16, 2017, just 11 days after the New York Times article on Harvey Weinstein, and 6 days after Ronan Farrow's article on Weinstein, the Me Too movement was well underway, and every media outlet wanted their Me Too piece. Many actresses who had previously worked with, been friends of, and praised problematic men in Hollywood, actresses who had previously shown zero support to the alleged victims of those men prior to the Me Too movement, were now champions of victims who had their own Me Too accounts to tell. Actresses like Blake Lively. On the October 16, 2017 episode of Good Morning America, Lively was all about survivors and calling out problematic men, but only because it now benefited her to do so.
Blake, while we have you here, I want to ask you about this avalanche of information that's coming out about Harvey Weinstein, because the question is, I mean, you're in the industry. How do you think Hollywood moves on from this point? How do you think it can seize this moment and turn it into something positive?
I think it's important that we acknowledge that this isn't just Hollywood. This is so much more global, and it's not just, oh, guess what? This is what's happening to women suddenly. This has been happening since the beginning of time, but now people are finally talking about it. And I think that that's what's important, is that where I never had experiences like this with Harvey myself. I only had positive ones with him, but that's but that goes to show where, you know, you don't always see what's going on behind closed doors. So I think that when people come forward, that your bosses, you have to acknowledge it. You know, there have been moments where I've come forward, where other people have come forward with things that just feel little and you're not sure. But when your bosses tell you that this is not a priority to them, then you think, okay, well then this must not be that big of a deal. Maybe what I'm complaining about isn't really that big of a deal. And it is.
And you're right, that's every single workplace.
Yep.
You just have to know it's okay to talk about it.
Yeah, but it's more than just like, oh, we're talking about it and we're supporting it. It's action. Everybody says that they stand in solidarity,
Amen.
but you have to show that you
Amen.
stand in solidarity.
She had now changed her tune. She too was encouraging women to speak out, and others to support women when they did speak out, even though she herself had previously had no interest in doing so when it came to Dylan Farrow just a year prior. But now that Me Too was in full swing, she was a supporter of SH and SA survivors, and she was now also claiming to be one. On October 13, 2017, the internet was flooded with articles about Blake Lively being a victim of SH on an undisclosed set by an unnamed man. She claimed the man would apply lipstick to her lips with his bare finger, and that one day she awoke to find him filming her. She claimed she had had to have several HR complaints filed before he was finally fired from the set. And when I read these articles back in 2017, I wondered, did this even happen? Because in the early days of the Me Too movement, you could accuse a man of anything with no proof and ruin him. You could probably also have your PR team reach out to various media outlets like the Huffington Post, The Cut, W Magazine, Vanity Fair, People Magazine, Refinery 29, and Business Insider, and have them run articles about the alleged harassment. It might even help people forget that you had previously associated with Harvey Weinstein. Yes, the Harvey Weinstein. On November 8th, 2013, Lively appeared on stage with Harvey Weinstein at the Careers in Film Symposium, hosted by then First Lady Michelle Obama. In 2013, Lively's filmography was as disappointing as it is now in 2025, so I couldn't understand why she was even invited to the event. Lively claims Harvey Weinstein never harassed her, that she had a different experience with him. Really, horny Harvey, the man accused of SH and SA by over 80 women dating back to at least 1987. The man who loved pretty young actresses and even singers. The man currently sitting in a prison cell awaiting a retrial. Never SH'd Blake Lively. Another problematic co-star and friend of Lively is Ben Affleck. In 2009, Lively began filming The Town, which was directed by and starred Ben Affleck. Lively played Krista, Chris Coughlin, the ex of Affleck's character Doug McCrae. During the filming of the movie, several entertainment news sources alleged that Lively and Affleck had become romantically involved, despite Lively being in a relationship with her Gossip Girl co-star Penn Badgley, and Affleck being married to Jennifer Garner. In October of 2017, Affleck, like many actors, was busy apologizing for his past MeToo-related misdeeds. One actress to have a bad experience with Affleck was One Tree Hill's Hillary Burton. In response to two fans posting on X, formerly Twitter, about how Affleck had groped Burton's chest, Burton posted, "I didn't forget." Affleck quickly apologized for pretty much committing what our crisis centers refer to as a form of SA, but he was then accused of lying about how much knowledge he had about Weinstein's misconduct by actress Rose McGowan. Nevertheless, Affleck evaded being canceled and continues to direct and star in films to this day. Lively has never commented on Burton's post or Affleck's apology to her. Prior to the Me Too movement, believing and supporting other women when they alleged SH or SA was of little importance to Lively, as she was willing to associate with and work with men who appear to lack self-control and respect women. Weinstein, Allen, and Affleck are all Oscar winners, and Lively has never once called out their behavior. Lively's history of not supporting other women aside, there are many other reasons Lively isn't receiving the support she feels she deserves. She comes across as mean, dishonest, and spoiled. I'm an SA survivor too, who has therapy with an R Crisis Center counselor once a week, and even I don't believe her claims. And that's just it. Many women don't believe her claims because her complaint, lawsuit, and amended lawsuit are full of claims that have already been debunked. Lively's description of what occurred during the slow dance montage scene describes Baldoni behaving as one would expect her old associates Weinstein and Affleck to behave with women. And the released footage was nothing as she described.
I was hoping that we could address this. It's not too late. Just gotta shut down. We gotta call an insurance month and just deal with that.
Yeah.
And then,
Cut.
just kidding.
No, it's true. That's why we hired Jenny's late too. Our noses are
Sticker.
And they score! They score!
As long as there are stories about you,
Yo.
I'll make you so sure about it. God only knows what I'd be without you.
They score another.
If you should
I'm not getting a beard on you today.
I'm probably getting my face. Well, it's not that. It's my body makeup.
And they win! They won!
All right, cut. We got plenty.
Yes.
Slow motion. It's going to be a 17-minute reel.
Lively claims she didn't attempt to take over Baldoni's film, but based on text of her asking for dailies, her getting the final edit of a film she didn't direct, In her own words during the 2002 Forbes Power Women Summit interview, it seems she employed the underhanded tactics she spoke of here to obtain authorship and take over the film.
Yet when I went in the meetings, I would just seem like I'm just there to be the actor and ready to get the gig. I wouldn't reveal that I actually need to have authorship in order to feel fulfilled.
Like, you are someone who exemplifies that multi-hyphenate, actress, producer, director, now a businesswoman. You were an actress, you now direct, produce, you again, multi-hyphenate career in the entertainment industry. You're someone who has no shortage of opportunities that come to you.
The way Moira Forbes was praising Lively, you would think she was talking to Meryl Streep, Kate Blanchett, Viola Davis, Anne Hathaway, Reese Witherspoon, Julia Roberts, Demi Moore, Angela Bassett, Mariska Hargitay, or Natalie Dormer. When did Lively become Catherine Bigelow, Ava DuVernay, Debbie Allen, Barbra Streisand, Penny Marshall, or Shonda Rhimes? Like, when did she develop even an ounce of the acting, directorial, or writing skills that these women possess? Lively wrote and directed and produced the music video for I Bet You Think About Me for her friend, probably ex-friend now, Taylor Swift. A skilled actress she is not, and so far It Ends With Us has been the only film with her in a lead role that was a financial success. In the text released by Baldoni's attorney, Lively sounds like an absolute terror to work with. According to Lively, her husband Ryan Reynolds wrote the rooftop scene during the strike, for which he has yet to be held responsible for.
But he wrote it. He works on everything I do. He's all over this film.
SAG wanted us to respect the strike, but when there's evidence that Reynolds didn't respect the strike, they've chosen to do nothing. No investigations into Reynolds for, according to his wife, scabbing by writing a scene for It Ends With Us during the strike. Just zero consequences for his actions. Now I want to talk about some financial losses that Lively accused Baldoni and AstroTurfing of being responsible for in her lawsuit. Lively's lawsuit alleges that her non-alcoholic brands Betty Buzz and Betty Booz's social media pages were flooded with hate messages, and accuses AstroTurfing of being responsible for a dramatic drop in her Blake Brown Haircare line sales. I would argue the drop in sales were due to reasons that had nothing to do with Baldoni or AstroTurfing. For example, why would anyone want to buy a hair care product that features marketing images that look this bad? In these promotional images, Lively's hair looks dry, tangled, and frizzy. It also looks like there were extensions or clip-ons added to make her hair look fuller. Her hair looks so bad in the marketing images that I don't understand why she approved them. Bad promotional images aside, has Lively considered Blake Brown's tanking sales to be a result of the high price range of her products, given that most people live paycheck to paycheck? Granted, Beyonce's Sacred line and Rihanna's Fenty hair is more expensive than Blake Brown, but their fans really like them, and they'll pay whatever the cost just to support them. Also, Rihanna's lip glosses are amazing. Has Lively considered that the line's packaging is not appealing and, according to some reviewers, cumbersome to use? I don't like modern and minimalist designs or nudes, so I don't find the packaging of Blake Brown or Sacred visually appealing, and packaging is an important feature when I purchase cosmetics and hair care products. Most of the models used on the Blake Brown site have a similar hair texture, which is straight and thin. Since I don't have thin hair, I would assume, based on Blake Brown's marketing images, that the product is not formulated for my hair type. Thick, low porosity coils.
So Blake Lively launched Blake Brown Beauty, which is a hair care brand she says took 7 years to make. Let's talk about something though, because I'm disappointed in the marketing. I'm not seeing enough brown girls review the brand. So I went to Target. And I paid $21 for the all-in-wonder leave-in potion. Y nosotros, we're gonna review it together on my textured hair. Packaging-wise, a mí me gusta. I like it. I'm not mad at it. But let's get into some of the claims, because this is supposed to instantly detangle, visibly tame flyaways and fight frizz, and help improve the look of existing damage. Okay. It's also a spray leave-in. This is the texture. So she's soft. Y huele a perfume. It smells like perfume. Yeah, this is very strong and scent. I could see this easily giving someone a headache.
Blake Brown allows you to take a hair quiz to determine what products will work best for you. Beyonce's line, Sacred, offers a quiz and a simpler way to decide what might work for you by allowing you to just select your hair type with over 20 hair types to choose from. As for free shipping, Blake Brown offers free shipping when you spend $75. Sacred offers free shipping when you spend $50. For You by Tia Mowry's hair care line, offers free shipping when you spend $35. And Fenty Beauty, Rihanna's line, gives account holders free standard shipping and returns on all US orders. No one wants to spend $75 just to avoid a shipping fee. Lively also probably didn't consider people being exhausted with celebrities releasing perfumes, cookware, cosmetics, and hair care lines.
The next thing that you do not ever need in your healthy hair journey is a celebrity hair care system. Over the past few years, we have seen an influx in celebrity hair care brand launches. Most recently, we have seen the Blake Lively brand. What's that called again? Blake Brown, Beyonce, Rihanna, Jennifer Aniston. But I have yet to see a hair care launch from a celebrity that has something that is really essential for healthy hair that you can't find elsewhere. And I think it's really interesting to watch the way that some of these celebrity brands launch and position themselves, like how they announce themselves to the world. Specifically, when I think about Jennifer Aniston and Blake Lively, I feel that those brands really leaned into the fact that at one point in time, these women were hair icons. They were known for their hair. They were known for having amazing hair. And then they kind of try to insinuate that the reason why their hair is so amazing is because of this brand, when that's usually not the case at all. Something I specifically remember from the initial marketing launch for Blake Brown Beauty is that they talked about the fact that this brand took 7 years to create. It's been in the works for 7 years. And I saw in my comments firsthand that made a lot of people assume that, like, oh, this is what Blake has been using. That's why her hair is so great. But when Blake really became known for her hair, I would argue, was back when Gossip Girl was running. And Gossip Girl ended in December of 2012, well over 7 years ago. That's scary. So no matter what these brands are telling you, more often than not, that hair care system, those hair care products are not at all what that celebrity actually used when they became known for having amazing hair. So not only do you not need those products to have healthy hair, clearly they don't either. And that's not to say that you can't find good products within those celebrity systems. It's just to say that they're not necessary in the way that the brands make you think they are because of that celebrity's hair. Like, let's not use hair to tug on people's heartstrings and emotions. Serena van der Woodsen had some of the coolest hair of her time, but it wasn't because of Blake Brown hair care.
It's possible Lively's hair care line just wasn't very good. Aislinn, a YouTuber who tries tons of hair care products, did an in-depth review on Blake Brown.
All right, I am back with some thoughts. It is quite a bit runnier than I initially thought it would be. When I heard hydrating, I was thinking like thick and luxurious. The shampoo, honestly, did not make my hair feel super soft. I feel like it's a very, very average shampoo. It's nothing special. I still have a lot of tangling in the back of my head, and it's not a shampoo that I would reach for often. I don't think it's anything that's groundbreaking or is going to make your hair feel like incredible. We are back. Let's see how my hair is feeling now. Feels a little dry and tangled, I'm not gonna lie. It definitely doesn't feel buttery, soft, smooth, or hydrated. Still feels pretty dry and tangled. I don't know if you guys can tell, but the back of my head is still very tangly. Oh my gosh, over here my hair is so tangled at the root area. My hair honestly feels bad, and it feels really, really dry, especially on my ends. It feels like I had some sort of alcohol on my hair, and that's kind of what it feels like, extremely dry. Okay, not a fan of the shampoo or the conditioner so far. My hair does definitely feel soft, but it's not the way it normally feels when I use my regular leave-in products. My hair normally feels way better than this. Overall, I would skip out on all 3 products I purchased. I haven't said that about a line I've reviewed in a long time. This line I think is probably one of the worst that I've reviewed recently. I will be returning these to Target because I don't think any of them is worth the price point, and I would honestly rather have my money. I've reviewed a lot of hair care, and I think this is probably one of the most disappointing hair care lines I've tried so far. I don't think it's worth the hype or the price point. There's a lot of other hair care lines that are way better and are actually gonna make your hair feel really nice. My hair does feel soft, but it doesn't feel hydrated. It doesn't feel any different than it did before. And again, I just think there are better lines with similar price points.
Brands like Tia Mowry's For You by Tia cost about half the price of Blake Brown, so it's affordable. The packaging looks better than Blake Brown's and Sacred's, and Mowry's line gets good reviews. Lively should listen to the feedback of buyers and improve her products. Just being a celebrity alone doesn't guarantee your business ventures will be successful. Smart marketing decisions is essential to a successful business launch. Shoppers also have to feel what you're selling is worth their money, which makes making a good product all the more important. Lively said so herself during her appearance at the 2022 Forbes Power Women Summit.
Well, I mean, I think you have to be creative even in business, and just to like get your product out there, to have people support you. You have to, they really do go hand in hand. It's just so much work. It's so much work to start a business. You have to really believe in it. And then you also have to be able to stand behind it when people tell you no, or if you're the only thing that you have to rely on once it goes to partners or retailers or consumers or audiences is it being good quality. So for me, it's most important to take the time to make sure it's the best it can possibly be, because it doesn't matter. But if the product isn't great, I can only sell 1 bottle. If the product isn't great, then I have nothing. And I think it's important, especially when it's a startup. I think you always learn more from your failures than you do your successes, which is really awful and painful at the time. And people tell you that, but you actually do learn more. But there are growing pains in a startup, but then there are also red flags. And the times, and this applies to filmmaking, to everything. The times where people ignore the red flags and say, let's just keep pushing. Those are the times where you fail, where if you see that something's broken, you have to stop and fix it, because once you put it out there, it's so much harder to catch up. So I really think it comes down to quality and conviction. If you have great quality and you believe in it, and you listen to your business and you listen to the red flags and you address the issues, then, I find that that's when you have success.
As for Lively's Betty Booze and Betty Buzz lines, regardless of the brands being non-alcoholic, I'll never understand why Lively would do an It Ends With Us themed Betty Booze marketing campaign. It was stupid to name one of her cocktails While You Wait, after a violent character from a book and movie about DV. How can Lively not understand why she was called tone deaf and got backlash for this? Recently, journalist Batya Ungar-Sargon made an appearance on Sky News Australia, and outside of her unwarranted man bun jab, I agreed with everything she said.
You've argued it signals the death of man bun feminism. Explain to my audience what man bun feminism is in the first place, and how did a man who presented himself, and Justin Baldoni is this man who's this new age perfect male feminist ally, is now suing a woman who's accused him of sexual harassment?
So you see the man bun there in full display on your screen. Justin Baldoni literally wrote the book on beta maledom. He wrote a book called Undefining My Masculinity or something like that. He wrote another children's book called Boys Will Be Humans. His whole public persona as a celebrity was an ally of women. And this ended up being a key to his downfall here when Blake Lively, sensing his weakness, started to bully him on the set of his own film, demanding the right to rewrite scenes, demanding the right to have her own edit of the film. And then finally, when she was hit with a ton of negative press when the film came out for the way she was handling herself in some old clips in which she was fat slut-shaming a reporter, she then argued that he had, sexually harassed her in an attempt to launder her image by becoming the victim. She cast herself as the victim of a Me Too scandal and cast him as the aggressor. Unfortunately, a more beta male you couldn't have found. I mean, he had all of the receipts showing that in every interaction, she had the power and he hadn't. And what I argue in the Free Press piece is that basically this is not just the end of the Me Too movement, but it's the end of this kind of man-bun ally feminism. Because what we really see here, Rita, is that the problem with the Me Too movement, the problem with Believe All Women, is that the relationship between sexuality and power is very, very complicated. It cannot be reduced to just who is the woman and who is the man. And in this case, the man was the one being bullied, the woman being the one bullying him. And when that was revealed, she claimed the victim status and it fell on its face.
It did. It has been such a schmozzle for her. She should have just gone on holidays for 2 weeks and the whole thing would have blown over. The film was a dud. Everyone would have forgotten about it. But no, she couldn't have any bad publicity because, she's a golden girl and she's part of this golden couple. So she comes up with this insane story. The New York Times just prints it. I think the New York Times is going to be looking at a massive payout to Justin Baldoni here. And as much as of a beta male he is, and we've heard some of the calls he plays to Blake Lively, some of these recorded calls, and oh gosh, it is cringeworthy just how over the top he is with this male feminist ally narrative. But he's got himself an absolute killer lawyer and he's going, he's not one you want to mess with. He's got a fantastic track record. And with each new revelation, Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds end up looking worse.
Lively saw Baldoni as a weak man who she could just run over. It looks like he bent over backwards to appease her, and in the end, it still wasn't enough. Listening to Baldoni grovel at Lively's feet, be self-deprecating, and apologize for male directors who were right to not let Lively have creative input on their movies was sickening to hear.
I want to start with an apology. Man, reading the second part of your message, my heart sank. And I'm really sorry. I for sure fell short. And you worked really hard on that, and the way you framed it, and how that made you feel. I just want to say thank you for sharing that with me. That takes a lot of trust and vulnerability, and I feel really grateful that you feel safe enough to tell me that that's how you feel and share that with me. And I'm really sorry. I fucked up. That is a fail on my part. And I'm sorry I made you feel that way. That must have felt terrible. And I will for sure do better. That was not my best weekend. And I should have given it more time. And damn right, you got great friends if that's how you felt and they knew that. And fuck, we should all have friends like that. Aside from the fact that they're two of the most creative people on the planet. The three of you guys together is unbelievable. Talk about energy, just to force all three of you. And I'm excited to go through the whole movie with you. I'm just excited to spend time with you. I'm excited to be in your sphere and your presence and for us to share creative juices together, although that sounds terrible. I am so sorry you have been through what you've been through with these other filmmakers and producers or whoever the people were that you worked with. It just pissed me off. Those fuckheads I'm just still kind of blown away that this is the industry that we're in and that you've experienced that as a woman. And I know I don't need to say it, but that's not at all going to be or will be, and hopefully it's not been the experience with me. There's nothing more exciting to me like that I get to work with Blake Lively.
I truly believe Baldoni was making a good faith attempt to give a woman and actress some creative control, but boy did his kind gesture backfire on him in the most awful way. In text, and one can assume in person, Lively complained to Baldoni about directors not listening to her suggestions and not crediting her for her contributions to the movies she starred in. Yet when Baldoni gave her more creative control than he ever should have, she still ended up accusing him of being a male chauvinist and committing SH against her. Baldoni and Wayfarer should have assured Lively signed her acting contract before they ever began filming, and Lively should have never been allowed to cause the wardrobe budget to go $430,000 over budget. I doubt she was this demanding when she worked with Woody Allen and Ben Affleck. I'm curious to know how this experience with Hollywood and mainstream media's female celebrities never lie reaction has affected Baldoni. I'm sure he has many regrets, especially when it comes to his casting decisions, and has had many sleepless nights. To have to watch a movie you were so passionate about be taken away from you, not be acknowledged for your vision, and even be excluded from most of the promotion must have been heartbreaking. I can only imagine how it felt to have to watch the premiere of It Ends With Us in a storage room with his family, friends, and even a terminally ill wheelchair-bound fan who was also banished to the storage room. Baldoni devoted his time and even money towards supporting women and victims of DV, only to have phony Hollywood backstabbers shun him without taking the time to listen to his side. Backstabbers like his former Man Enough podcast co-host, Liz Plank, who quit the podcast before even waiting to see if Baldoni was truly guilty of what he was accused of. Colleen Hoover, who immediately abandoned all support of Baldoni, despite him being the first to bring one of her books to the screen. Vital Voices, a non-profit organization that wasted no time stripping Baldoni of the Voices of Solidarity Award, which they awarded on December 9th, 2024, and rescinded on December 21st, 2024. The award honors remarkable men who have shown courage and compassion in advocating on behalf of women and girls. I have someone in my family very close to me who went through DV with her boyfriend at the time. It was a painful situation for that loved one in my family to go through. But reading that an organization that's supposed to help victims would strip someone of an award they earned before what's been alleged has been proven to be true was very upsetting to me. Vital Voices has also yet to comment on this rescinding, despite everything that's come out about Lively lately. This has killed my desire to donate to this organization. And again, one of my loved ones, whom I currently live with, is a survivor of DV, and we're both survivors of SA. Yet I can't bring myself to support an organization that operates as Vital Voices did here. In my opinion, one of the worst turncoats is Brandon Sklenar, who begged his followers to read Lively's complaint, but refused to be open-minded and post Baldoni's lawsuit as well.
On December 23rd, Brandon takes to his Instagram story to side with Blake, linking a report from the New York Times that allows readers to see the full legal complaint filed by the A-lister. On his Instagram story, Brandon tags the actress, also writing, "For the love of God, read this." Back in August, after the film's release and amid online rumors that there was a rift between Baldoni and Lively, Brandon also took to his Instagram to defend Blake in a lengthy statement, writing, "What may or may not have happened behind the scenes does not and hopefully should not detract from what our intentions were in making this film. It's been disheartening to see the amount of negativity being projected online."
I was interested in watching the movie The Drop, right up until I saw Sklenar in the trailer. Sklenar is a handsome man, but that means nothing in Hollywood. If all you have to offer is a beautiful face and body, your roles will be limited. Beautiful and younger actors and actresses are a dime a dozen. And Sklenar's It Ends With Us co-star Lively knows this better than anyone. That's why she wanted that producer's mark from the Producers Guild of America so badly. Sklenar had better hope he never finds himself in Baldoni's shoes, because as him, Liz Plank, Colleen Hoover, and numerous others have shown us, people in the entertainment industry are opportunistic phonies. If some actress should accuse Sklenar of misbehavior, he'll be tossed aside by his co-stars, just as he did Baldoni. I think this case has resonated with so many people. At least it did for me, because many of us have had a coworker, supervisor, or customer who has lied on us, used their position to be a bully, or both. I think that's what makes Baldoni an empathetic victim. When you've experienced being bullied at school or at work, you hate to see someone else go through it. and you want to see them get justice for what they've experienced. Evidence presented at trial might reveal a bad side of Baldoni, but right now, I can see myself in his experience. Right before Christmas of 2024, I had a terrible encounter with a customer. She didn't want to pay for an item, and she started bragging about being friends with some of the higher-ups in my place of employment. A month after the encounter, out of the blue, I was called in for a meeting with my supervisor and department manager. Turns out the customer had written an email to some of her friends in the company, accusing me of saying things to her that I had never said. She claimed I had been extremely rude and hostile towards her, which wasn't the case at all. The building I work in has cameras, so this could have been easily verified, but no one bothered. Naturally, my employer couldn't have cared less about my side of the story, as in their eyes, the customer's always right, even when the customer curses out their employees. And given that this customer had connections with administrators in a higher position than me, her claims were considered to be true. The incident was added to my employee file, and it was an extremely upsetting experience to not only not have any support at a place I've been employed at for years, but to be punished for doing something I didn't do. And that customer knew I didn't do it. So when Baldoni began releasing his receipts, it resonated with me, because I knew what it was like to be lied on by someone just because they had the power to do so, and for them to not suffer any consequences. I had never said what the customer had accused me of, nor had I been rude to her. This was a case of the customer not getting their way and lying to punish me, even if it meant my employment was affected. Had I been fired and unable to take care of myself and my family, she wouldn't have cared. She was cruel and she was a liar. And that's just it. Men lie, but so do women. If I could say anything to Blake Lively and her legal team, it would be this. The negative response to you wasn't due to astroturfing. I, like many others, don't believe everything I read online, nor do I agree with the opinions of others simply because their opinion may be the popular one. I, like many others, who are skeptical of your claims, possess critical thinking skills, and despite myself being a survivor of SA, I'm not going to automatically believe a woman's claims of SH or SA. There have been numerous instances where women have lied about extremely important things. I didn't need negative online comments to make me dislike you. Years ago, I saw the Gossip Girl panel where you referred to your colleagues as monkeys. And I believe during that same panel, you also made an extremely nasty joke about Leighton Meester being born in a cage, when you knew about Leighton Meester's difficult childhood and her mother giving birth to her in a halfway house while she was in prison.
Chuck has a matching pet monkey with coordinating outfits, and I was like, I would love to be part of the show, but I can't act with a monkey. And then I got a few of them.
You got a few of them.
Come on, it was a joke. Lord have mercy.
That was a lot of information about cages, and I'm sorry, I was still thrown off by that
He
stuff.
was like, wow.
Who else didn't want to act in a cage?
Well, some of them started
a cage.
Yeah.
You allegedly had an affair with Ben Affleck, who was a married man at the time, while you were dating Penn Badgley. You allegedly cheated on Penn Badgley with Ryan Reynolds, while Reynolds was married to Scarlett Johansson. You got married on a plantation, and when you and your husband were called out on it, you refused to comment on it or apologize, until 8 years later, after the fallout from the death of George Floyd. You worked with Woody Allen, who Dylan Farrow has alleged essayed her. You were friendly with Harvey Weinstein and have refused to say anything to denounce him. You did this to Shasti Flaw after she congratulated you on your pregnancy.
First of all, congrats on your little bump.
Congrats on your little bump.
Did you guys love wearing those kind of clothes that you...
Yeah. Yeah.
And, you know, working in
Everyone
digital...
wants to talk about the clothes, but I wonder if they would ask the men about the clothes.
I would. I love Jesse's suits.
He has some beautiful. That's what I'm saying. His wardrobe was beautiful.
I know.
Corey's wardrobe was gorgeous. Those high-waisted pants.
He's so great.
I would wish men wore high-waisted pants like that still. Or the father with his tank top in bed.
It's so
just
good.
It's just like
Did you
that.
catch
You could feel
the
it.
tablecloth on the light in the Italian restaurant when they eat spaghetti?
I didn't
and
notice that. No.
There's so
I
much
feel like-
warmth of everything. You know?
Yeah, it's not just the women that have the clothes.
But
I feel like the women
Victoria-
get the conversation, but it's like
Yeah.
every detail with everybody.
But yeah,
It's so,
it was
so
amazing
beautiful.
to look at.
Steve's
and then to
white
see it,
suits.
I mean, honestly, the way that I get into a character is through their style. So it was more about who Lily is that was so fascinating to me, is that she's a walking, talking contradiction, yet it's perfectly harmonious for her. So, you know, she loves old, tarnished, vintage, beaten up things, but she also loves flashy, new, sparkly things. You know, the fact that she loves masculine and feminine, the fact that she loves patterned and something that's quite quiet and quaint.
What did you do specifically here for Lily?
I mean, for me, the way I always get into a character is through their wardrobe. When I literally inhabit them, I feel so much more. Clothes are very expressive to me. I feel like a different person given whatever I'm wearing. And so it was very important for me for her to be both utility and then like super fab and glam, to be masculine and feminine, to be, you know, vintage and new, to be, you know, sort of a mix of patterns. Yeah, I mean, for me, wardrobe is the way that I enter a character. If I feel like I'm dressed different than me, or that I'm expressing myself through wardrobe, because it's the way I express myself, or who I want to sort of project. So I felt like, you know, Lily's wardrobe was really, really important to me, that it was like, it was both utility and then fabulous glam. It was masculine and feminine. It was old and new.
Well, this is Britney's Versace dress, 2002, the butterfly dress. And this dress meant so much to me. Oh my God, my husband's getting soaking wet in the rain.
You did this to Flaw's boyfriend, Magnus.
Magnus,
Yes.
when I saw you earlier, you said, "Oh, let me get a shot." And I thought you meant of alcohol, but you meant a photograph. So
Uh-oh.
guess what? Time to put up.
And what are we drinking?
Aviation American Gin, who's
And-
owned by a very, very sexy man, who also happens to be my husband.
Oh.
Yeah, I know. So let's see. Let's see what you think.
We're starting early.
Yeah, we are starting. What better time to start?
Cheers.
Cheers. How does
It
the
is-
taste test
it
happen?
is good.
Oh, your voice went higher an octave. Just come on, just shoot it. Just shoot it.
I'll be
The
singing
interview
if
would
I
be so
finish
much
this.
more interesting. We just do like just straight shots.
But I hear you don't drink, right?
I don't drink. No, this is coffee. But it's
So-
in a martini glass. Isn't that classy?
What if he had been a recovering alcoholic? I personally don't drink because I grew up around a lot of people with addiction issues. I can only imagine how uncomfortable, which is a word you like to use, I would have felt if I had been trying to interview you and you forced me to consume alcohol just to promote your husband's gin. Even if an entertainment journalist was in AA, they may have still consumed the gin you forced on them out of fear of losing their job. You refused to take DV seriously during the It Ends With Us press junket.
No, what an incredible summer you're having. I feel like you poured a lot into this movie, but then you turned around and you were just as supportive of Ryan. What is it like to...
And my hair care company, Blake Brown, my goodness gracious. It's been crazy. It's been a crazy week. I haven't slept in like a lot of time.
I'm going to jump into this, and Blake, I'm going to start with you. Most of us, if we're lucky enough to run into a celebrity in public, we only have a few moments to maybe speak with you guys. But for people who see this movie, who relate to the topics of this movie on a deeply personal level, they're really going to want to talk to you. This movie is going to affect people, and they're going to want to tell you about their lives. So if someone understands the themes of this movie, comes across you in public, and they want to really talk to you, what's the best way for them to be able to talk to you about this? How would you recommend they go about it?
Like asking for like my address or my phone number or like my location share. Or I could just location share you, and then we could. I'm just
social security number.
I'm a Virgo, so I'm like, are we talking logistics? Are we talking emotionally?
Instead of reflecting on your own piss poor behavior and apologizing to Shasti Flaw and all the other entertainment journalists you were rude to, you allegedly leaked your complaint to the New York Times and attempted, allegedly, to weaponize the MeToo movement and ruin Justin Baldoni. And this is how you behaved with another entertainment reporter.
I want your Bob Ross shirt. Take it off.
I'm challenging you.
Do you want me to do it?
Yeah.
I'll do it.
No way. He's taking your shirt. See, I
just
take
gonna
my
tell
shirt
you.
off in this movie and my shorts, so it's only fair. This is the best thing that happened.
I'm also not
to
in
me
that great a
today.
shape. All right, so Blake, you give me new meaning here to what I'm bringing to an island.
Had a male actor done this to a female entertainment reporter, this might have been considered SH, or at the very least, highly inappropriate. Now maybe this reporter was okay with exposing his chest to countless people online, but I think we can all agree that it was inconsiderate of you to make him do that, and I don't think it was planned in advance. I know you're almost 40 and you've been acting on screen for years now, but you're still not a very good actress and should consider taking classes. Again, my dislike of you was not due to astroturfing, but your own behavior towards others on camera. You being associated with people like Harvey Weinstein and Woody Allen, and your poor acting skills.
So I wanted to weigh in on the Blake Lively drama as someone that has worked with her and someone that's worked with directors in Hollywood for over 10 years. I worked at a talent agency and then a management company. And I specifically, at one time, actually worked with Blake Lively. So I want to color in what's going on here. For context, when I worked with Blake, it was one day she was doing press for Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants. This was end of May, beginning of June 2005. I worked on a show that was on the Fuse channel, which was like a local competitor to MTV in New York City. After that, I went on to work in Hollywood at CAA, which is WME's competitor, and then management companies where I work with directors. So I actually do have a lot of perspective here. In addition to, I grew up on set. I was a local Nepo baby because my parents both worked in sports TV. So I grew up going to set all the time. So when I was interning at the Fuse channel, as I said, this was 2005, end of May, beginning of June, she was doing press for Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants with 3 of the 4 girls. I don't remember who exactly was there, but it was Blake, who was actually terrible and made me cry. So as an intern, we were allowed on set, but and as someone who grew up on set, you don't speak on set. It is quiet on the set because obviously the people with the microphones need to be heard, right? So your job was to just fetch things that various people needed. That day, it was my job to hand out these little water bottles to anyone who needed them. As they were walking to set from their green room, I had to pass them in this extremely narrow hallway, literally necessitating me to go like this against a wall so they could get by. Obviously, they're the priority. They need to get to set. I don't speak to them because, again, being an intern and also just growing up in the industry, like, you're seen, not heard, right? When you're not talent, you just do what you have to do. Show concludes, and me and all the interns are then brought upstairs for an emergency intern meeting, and they proceed to yell at us for being unprofessional. Now, I'm very confused. I'm looking around, and I'm like, nobody was unprofessional that day, at least from what I had observed. And then they ask me to stay after the meeting. So now I'm really, now my red flags are going off, like, what happened? She, specifically Blake, alleged that I was unprofessional and treated her like a fan. I want to reiterate, I did not speak to her. I had no idea who she was. She hadn't done Gossip Girl yet. Like, this was her breakout thing. Didn't even know her name. I was focused on the next show that I was supposed to help with production, which was a gaming show that we were doing, or a contest show. So I get dressed down for don't talk to talent, don't treat them like you're a fan. And I'm like, I literally, like, what? So I guess she went and complained that me specifically of all the interns treated her like a fan and she was so uncomfortable. Okay, I'm extremely weirded out. I actually cried on the train home. I used to take the train back to Long Island. Like, I was mortified. Like, again, not only did I not treat her unprofessionally, but nobody to my experience that I saw spoke to her. Like, this was our 8th show. We knew not to talk to talent. Everybody knew that. Okay, so I wipe it off, whatever. Years go by, I wind up working in a talent agency, and this is where working with directors and experiencing harassment in my own right comes into play. Harassment requires a factor of a power imbalance, okay? So someone lower than you can't really harass you because if you're her level, you can boot them off. She could have booted him off the project if he was legitimately harassing her. Harassment also doesn't occur when your husband is a frequent visitor and presence on set. He was ghostwriting scripts, which is like shocking to me as someone who worked with writers and directors. I've never heard of somebody bringing their husband in to like do rewrites. That was bizarre. But when you work with directors, typically they are the top dog. He was the bottom dog. It was her with all the leverage. She was the star on this show. So when I saw her interviews playing back, I was I'd actually kind of forgotten about what had happened when I worked for Fuse or interned at Fuse. I was immediately taken back to when she flipped the narrative on me and acted as if I did all these offensive things when I want to reiterate I didn't speak to this girl. I did not speak to her. So this girl has a pattern of flipping the narrative, playing the victim, and then leveraging her status to actually bully and mistreat other people. So I've never heard of Justin Baldoni. I'm someone who, again, worked with Hollywood directors, never heard of this guy. This might have been his big break. And what I saw is her harassing him because, again, usually it's the director that's the bigger dog on set. So yeah, they can harass their talent if they're like the much bigger name. But when you're the bigger name, you can have them kicked off set. As obvious as she got him kicked out of WME, which was her talent agency. For clarity, I worked at CAA, which is the competitor, but just as big. So she threw her weight around and was like, okay, me and Ryan want this guy booted out of the agency, which is something the bigger dog can do because they have the leverage. That's how Harvey Weinstein got away with everything, because he had the leverage and he would pick on no-name people or lesser than people because who's going to believe them over him? You have more to lose if you don't take Ryan and Blake's side. So, having worked in PR, having worked on set, having grown up on set, and having personal experience with Blake doing this to me, she's the problem. There's a reason she feuds with all her co-stars. She had a feud with Anna Kendrick. She had a feud with Leighton Meester. Leighton Meester, who I wound up meeting years later, we were in Mommy and Me classes together. Completely different vibes, very human, very demure, very nice, unlike Big Britches Blake. So if you don't know about Hollywood and don't know about these people, allow me to color that experience in. She was the problem.
You're a problem. You're a real problem.
I don't feel Baldoni should settle his lawsuit due to the damage his career and reputation has suffered, as well as to that of his business partners. Few things are more damaging than an S-related accusation, and no apology or monetary settlement can undo what has been done to them. Baldoni's dream of making films that matter has essentially been destroyed, but that's just my opinion. I've been hearing commentators online, men, women, public relations managers, and even attorneys, saying that maybe Lively should use not being in her right mind, or that Lively should say that she was suffering from postpartum depression because she had recently had a baby as a PR excuse for her poor behavior. Well, all it would take is one or two mothers or women on the jury to hear that excuse and get pissed off for things to not go in Lively's favor. I suffered with postpartum depression. I got pregnant as a result of my essay when I was 15 years old, so I was very depressed after I gave birth. I wanted to self-delete. However, not only did I not mistreat my child, I didn't mistreat anyone. I didn't lie on anyone or over-embellish. And I think many women who have experienced postpartum depression can attest that neither did they. Postpartum depression, or even the death of a parent, I lost my father to cancer, is not a reason, nor should it be used as an excuse for the behavior that Lively has allegedly engaged in. Any attempts to use postpartum depression or the loss of a parent to explain away the behaviors Baldoni accuses Lively of in his lawsuit would be a huge misstep, because most women don't like seeing other women weaponize hormones as an excuse for bad behavior. It is highly offensive. In her lawsuit, especially in the amended version, Lively and her attorneys describe Baldoni as if he's Harvey Weinstein, a deviant who abused his power and women on set. But Baldoni was a new director, trying to make a name for himself in the industry. He may have been the director and one of the film's producers, but Lively still had more power than him, despite being a B-list actress due to her husband being considered an A-list actor. If things were so bad on set with Baldoni, Lively should have and could have filed a complaint with SAG, the Screen Actors Guild, or just stop shooting the film. Why would she stay on in a situation where she was allegedly being subjected to SH and made to feel as uncomfortable as she claims? Given that Lively reportedly never signed her certificate of engagement or long-form acting contract. If this is true, she could have left the film with no legal repercussions. The fallout from all of this should serve as an example to inexperienced directors and producers and executives at big and small movie studios. With the New York Times article tarnishing Baldoni's public image and Lively's lawsuit, the Me Too movement is finished, and the days of believing all women are long gone. Because as reality has shown us, men lie, women lie, everyone lies. It's like Hollywood and legacy media learned absolutely nothing from the verdict in the Johnny Depp versus Amber Heard defamation trial. Lively, her attorneys, and journalists for the New York Times have slammed online content creators for our takes on Lively's claims. While we may not have the educational backgrounds that Megan Twohey, Mike McIntyre, and Julie Tate have, most of us have reported on this with more fair-mindedness than the three of them exhibited in their biased New York Times hit piece. Hopefully the New York Times gets the CNN experience and is held accountable for defamation and reporting irresponsibly. If you're going to show Baldoni's text, show all of them and show Lively's too. If you're going to post Lively's complaint, post Baldoni's lawsuit. That's journalistic integrity. And with the way this was initially covered in the news, it's no wonder people no longer trust legacy media.
There's just no trust, no integrity.